One, maybe. There it goes. All right, roll call. Joe Bachman here. Morgan McCabe.
Here.
Tony Martin.
Here.
Trelena Bachman.
Here.
Dave Anderson. Here. Do I have a motion to approve the April meeting minutes?
So moved.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business, 55th anniversary. I don't really have any updates.
Are we sticking with the 21st?
Yep.
Okay, great. Do we know what time we're doing? And then
We never decided on actual time last month.
Okay.
yeah, we
Still had it up
That's
in
right.
the air.
And I have mentioned it to both Bay City and I mentioned it to Heavenly Bites. They're
Mhm.
both interested in that date. I told them I would let them know what the start time was.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know, figure noon.
Noon?
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to go into the evening or not, or whatever. How much of a hullabaloo is this thing going to be?
I think noon to 6, I think would be a good noon to 6, noon to 7.
I don't think we're gonna get people there for that long.
Yeah, I don't think people's.
I think maybe
Yeah.
4.
Noon to
Yeah,
4.
noon to 4.
Okay.
Let's go 12 before.
Yeah, I just honestly, I mean, lack of interest that we've had in rummage sale and things like that. I can't see
Well-
people coming out.
Yeah.
To that point, I would like to say, can we get some signs printed for this and put out?
Yep.
Yeah, we had talked about getting a banner.
Signs and a banner.
Yep.
I will put those on the front burner.
Okay.
And we can get a flyer whipped up and up at the town hall.
Mm-hmm. So I can put together some graphics for the whole thing and then just port it over to everything. So all the graphics are identical.
Yeah.
So,
So
let me
you're on the visual publicity.
yeah, I'll work on
Okay.
the graphics and the setup for all that.
Okay.
And then you guys will approve it and then we'll make whatever adjustments need to be made. And then we'll get it done. But I think having those, I forget how many we made last time, the push signs and spreading them around town.
Yeah. I think it was what, like 25?
25, 20, I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget what the round number was.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to the
Okay.
nice lady over there and sort that out.
All right. Anything else for anniversary?
Well, we're gonna try to get music. We have one speaker for sure. The other guy, who's this here? I can't think of his name now. I did try and reach out to him and have never heard anything back from him. I can't ever think, my brain. What else do we want? Do we want to do
Sure.
some sort of acknowledgement of people that help us facilitate programming and things? Like we could ask people like Trizak and Nick Alessandri, Sue, some citizens too. Like I know he doesn't like attention, but at least we should shout out John Squire's name a couple times and say, like,
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
so if we can make little lists of that,
Yeah.
that might be a nice way to do it. But I think that we should, and the chief for,
Mhm.
people that really help us out down at the park. Nothing for Dave Anderson, of course.
Right. I've never seen him down there in my life.
I just didn't, I don't want
Great. Great.
it'll be
Now we're not going to have
it'll be a
ice for the next event.
surprise. It'll be a
I think-
surprise. And Robert George.
Yeah, I think we should add the NHS on there.
NHS.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
let's like shoot a list back and
Legacy
forth.
Foundation. all the
Legacy,
people that could
yeah,
help us.
yeah.
And invite
Frontier.
some of those people too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so we should work on guest list and
Yeah.
There we go.
honorees.
Yep.
Guest lists and honorees, as a group, I think.
The guy that we met down at the park when we were fiddling with the dumpster that one day,
Mhm.
he knew a lot about the park.
He did. I didn't get his name.
I don't remember his name. He had spoken to you guys before too. Shoot, elder gentleman, kind of a hunchback, very nice gentleman, very nice. Knew a lot about the history, both of
Is
The guy
that's
that lives down
who I
next-
think it is.
Oh, is that
I'll explain it over dinner.
okay?
Okay.
We'll
does it-
find, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll table that discussion for
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess this would be good. I know we had one gentleman that, gave us all the newspaper articles.
And his buddies.
Yep.
And-
Yes.
And so one of the other people that I called was one of his buddies was connected in there, but
Mm.
no response.
I wonder if there's
Well, I'm thinking, at least him as a speaker, if we can get if any of the other buddies are still around
Mhm.
that would like to come speak, maybe have a couple of them speak on it.
Yeah.
Sue basically has been around since the park, I think, got formed.
Mhm.
But Sharon, if she's up to it,
Mhm.
have her, because I know she remembers when the park was
The dump.
built. Yeah.
yeah,
So I think she was the one that told me that it was the council members that used to go around to collect the garbage every Saturday to take to the dump.
yeah,
Mhm.
So,
Well, they earned their salary that year.
yeah.
yeah. I wonder
So-
if there's
Maybe we
any
have them do that
surviving
again.
Marines that were part of the
Wait a
training
minute.
exercise.
I got an
Yeah.
idea.
Dave's going, no, you don't.
What's that?
They came home.
Yeah,
That was NOM
That-
that they
that's-
were training for.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They,
and I don't know if they were local or just stationed somewhere around here.
yeah,
So
that-
he might be able to,
Yeah.
give
Might
us
be able
a
to track
list
you
of
down.
names and track some down. He does have an organization that I think is related to the
Mhm.
platoon that he commanded.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for anniversary?
I could reach out. Like I said, I had a broader plan for trying to get music at events this year, and I think just with our curtailed funding and everything kind of collapsing a little bit, we didn't get to that.
Mm.
Do we have any money to hire a band for this event?
Or a disc jockey. DJ.
Let's take a look at what we got left in donations. And
I
Because
may
one of the
need some of
bands,
that for summer because we
Yeah.
have no funding for
Mhm.
lunch and learn this year.
Right.
So I may need, if I can carve out about $200 to $300 for supplies.
Yeah.
Out of that, I may not need that much, but I will try to get you guys a budget so that we know what's going on with that. We can approve that, but
Okay.
it won't be over $300.
well, how much, what were you going to say, Tony, with how much the band was?
well, my quotes were that because I talked with Tom Lounges,
Mhm.
and I can try to go through him, or we can go behind his back. Because one of the bands that he deals with is Trezak's son's band,
Mhm.
which I think would be a natural for this, although I've never
Okay.
heard them.
And Trezak has volunteered his son to us at Lunch and Learn, and it never materialized. So,
Do you know what the
but he
name
said,
of the
"I'll get
band
him
is?
here. I'll get him here."
No.
So maybe he could get him here for the celebration.
Yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to?
If you could get the
Okay.
name of the band, maybe we can, find
Look
them
up some YouTube stuff.
either on YouTube
How do you
or
spell
if they could be.
Trezak?
Everything I've heard is that they're really, really, really
Okay.
good.
How do you
Very-
spell Trezak?
Trezak.
Okay. Oh, I spelled it right in my notes. Okay.
Look at you go.
So how much was Tom quoting you?
Yeah.
He was quoting I think for 3 events, it was going to be like $2,500 or something. So if you figure $1,000,
Yeah.
but that was him coming out, setting up a bunch of sound equipment and stuff that he does when he comes out.
Okay.
For 3 separate events. That's a good
Yeah.
price.
That is a good
It's a-
price.
Yeah, that was a good price because
It's
what?
yeah,
So because I would,
$850 a pop or so.
and I could go back to him and ask him about doing this event and 1 or 2 nights of Dark in the Park.
Yeah.
And get another quote from him because I don't want to go behind his back. He's well connected in the music industry.
Yeah.
You know,
That would be not playing
Yeah.
fair.
that's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Trezak volunteers his son.
Yeah.
Voluntold his son to come and play here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
let's,
if you're watching, hi.
actually, we have no viewers right now.
Six
Oh.
out of the bag.
But let's take a look at how much we got left in donations.
Yeah.
Because I know, like you said, you're going to be about 200 to 300 for lunch and learn, which is, I know we've got that in there. No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and most of the donations in there were monies that came in for Lunch and Learn in
Yeah.
the past that we didn't spend
Mm.
all of it, and they said, keep it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which
So
we
let-
appreciate so much.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. If I'll try and get with Tam. Well, I can't get with her tomorrow.
Because you're busy.
Yeah,
I can get with Tammy tomorrow between meetings, I believe.
okay. If you can get with Tammy and have her look up how much we got in donations, and we'll just kind of, I'm thinking, I don't know if we should do a band, any kind of band stuff for Dark in the Park, just because there's always in October like that, you have that horrible chance of rain.
Yeah. In which
Yeah.
case we would have to cancel that and possibly everything.
Right.
So maybe we'll just look at one event. I'm entirely fine with
Well, we have
that.
the Rummage
Yeah.
in the Park coming up too in the fall. So, if we can publicize that and sell it,
Hmm.
because we didn't really have much
Publicity.
publicity.
Yeah, I think we'll need to do signs for for the rummage, fall
Yeah.
rummage too.
Well, and I've got an idea that I want to run by you guys on that also.
I was gonna say I had a talking point on that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
So yeah, we'll cover that more in depth here in a little bit. Yeah. Let's see how much we got left in donations,
Hmm.
and we'll just kind of go
Okay.
from there.
Sure.
And then depending on what we've got left after we figure for 300 coming out for Lunch and Learn, have you get a hold of Tom and see about doing either one or two,
Mm-hmm.
Barring, the amount of money we have left.
Okay, let's take a look at it.
All right. All right. Anything else for anniversary? Going once, going twice. Sold.
Mhm.
All right. Easter 2025. It was a success. It was a little wet that morning, but it was a success.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody
Um,
seemed to survive, and we distributed 5,000 eggs? What did you say?
Yeah, I think that's what we ordered.
Mhm.
Yeah.
5,000 plus, because
Yeah.
we had others.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
everybody went home with prizes, and we don't have a ton of stuff to try to store for next year,
mhm.
because it just becomes mouse fodder
Yeah.
in that
Mm-hmm.
precious little snack shack.
But thank you to the council for coming out and helping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you,
Including
Council.
No
Um,
problem.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys were a
Big-
big help.
Big thanks to the police chief for coming down and finding the person who just, so lovely dumped dog food in the middle of our parking lot and issuing them a citation. So,
Yes.
all right. So that's all I really had on that.
All good.
Rummage in the Park. So May was canceled. And I think I know what the talking point is that Trey's going to bring up, but Trey, I'm going to let you talk about it.
All right. So over the weekend, we went to our goddaughter's birthday party and we saw Kim there. And she had what I thought was a great idea of turning the rummage sale into a townwide garage sale and then offering up spaces at the park and still renting them out like we do for the rummage sale.
Mhm.
Because her theory is that people don't want to haul their stuff down to the park
Gotcha.
because it's, it might rain. My stuff's too big. I don't want to leave my house. And, maybe charging them to be put on like a highlight flyer of being like, this person has this stuff, and being like, okay, so much money to be put on the highlight flyer, still renting out, the spaces of, oh, you don't have a garage or space for,
Or you want to come down and be
Or-
part of it there.
yeah,
Mhm.
or, we're still doing crafters and
And we
things like
could,
that there.
and we could sweeten that deal too, if we have entertainment and food that day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
like, you can come
Because you'll
down.
have more if you want more traffic, then you might get, or,
Mhm.
Mhm.
you live across the street from the park and it's easy for you to get things, and you
Mhm.
might want to.
Yep.
And there is a new food cart in town. It's a hot dog cart
And that is in New Chicago or Lake
in
Station?
New
Oh,
Chicago.
where is it?
So not the one up.
She sets up, she just got her permit 2 weeks ago, I
Yeah.
want to say. And she was going to set up at like by Top Park when the kids were getting out of school. So I don't know how well she's been doing. So we might be able to, get her and kind of nudge her a little bit and be like, hey, people.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, because her idea was catch the kids walking home from school. And I told her, because she asked, her and Chief were talking, and I happened to be up at the town hall. And Chief's like, well, I'm sure if you make a donation to the parks, they won't mind. And I told her, I said, let's see how like May goes, which
Mhm.
really May is going to be kind of the last month for her to get consistent
'Cause then
traffic
school's
after
out.
school, because
Mhm.
then we're on summer break.
And nobody
So-
goes to Tot Park well, I mean, not nobody, but
yeah,
not very many people go to Tot Park.
yeah. But
Right.
there's been,
So
But there's always a line of kids walking down Indiana.
and there's been
So-
sports
From
events.
school.
Right.
Yeah, there's been
I'm
sports
talking about when
events.
school's out.
Right. Yeah.
She might want to move over to to Twin Oaks.
Right.
Mhm.
How do we feel about that?
So I wouldn't have a problem with it. We just basically charge her a flat monthly rate.
What about upkeep and cleanliness?
That'd be the downside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know how well she's done over there, because the last 2 days I've driven by when school's let out, she hasn't even been set up.
Mhm.
So I don't know if like the first couple days she just got absolutely nobody, and she went, oh, okay, yeah, this probably isn't gonna.
Well, she still has a
Work.
kid in school.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain because her daughter came to pay for the permit
Yeah.
and she looked school age. So it might depend on what her daughter's doing,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And once the weather breaks, be a
Yeah.
little bit better.
Yeah.
It's been a little rainy.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is that the kids will hit it hard. She's not responsible for keeping the park clean.
Right.
The kids won't keep the park clean.
Right.
That means like 100 times more work for the four of us.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And, then we're going to be fielding complaints from people, why does the park look so trashy? Because, and then will our dumpsters accommodate the garbage if they do manage to get it in there? I mean, the rolling bins, because they can't get in the dumpster. But
Right.
so we have some other things to think about there.
And that might be part of the agreement, is she would be responsible at the end of the day to go through and just kind of make sure it's cleaned up. She would be like a renter and have a key to the dumpster.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily open the bathrooms, but
I mean, the key's
Well, if we
different for
figure
the
that
dumpster.
aspect of maintenance, that anything that looks like it's related to, food garbage from her truck, that she picks it up regardless of where it lands in the park.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's 5 acres we own.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot to ask from somebody.
Which she called it a cart. Is it a truck or is it?
So it's on a trailer. It's like,
Okay,
it
okay.
was a food cart. It's now kind of mounted into the back of this trailer.
Okay. I hadn't
And
seen it.
she, like, the one day I saw her when she set up by Tot, because we were kind of talking about it, and I took her down to Tot, and I told her, when you pull in, just make sure you pull in so that when the kids are walking up to order, they're on the sidewalk.
Mhm.
And when I saw her down there the next day, it was perfect. Her vehicle and everything was right in that parking area, and it's really just a cart on a trailer. It's been mounted to a trailer now.
Cool. Well, let's ponder all the pros and cons of that and
Mhm.
Yeah.
come up with something, to determine whether we want to pursue it any further.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because she's probably going to ask at some point,
yeah,
especially when she sees how much it gets used during the summer.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was trying to get in at the town hall But Sue just flat no because of how the building is and
Old Town Hall or New Town Hall?
Old Town.
yeah, the old,
Old Town Hall.
yeah,
Yeah.
because she didn't want anybody in the parking lot because of legal issues and
Yeah.
No,
things
no,
like
no.
that.
Well, that's
which-
the other thing I'd want to
Yeah.
double check on before we say yes to it.
Mhm.
Actually, at the parks on an ongoing basis,
Yeah,
whether we can legally do that or not.
I don't
Yeah.
think since she's self-contained, she's a vendor.
Yeah,
She's responsible for hitting all of the going through all the hoops for
Mhm.
food cleanliness and all that.
Yeah,
It's
but
not us.
she had all her permits and stuff for that.
She has all her permits as
Yeah.
long as there is.
So we can't issue the peddler's license for that unless she has the health,
Well, what does it, I don't know what the peddler's license entails. Does it say you can set up anywhere? Like in front of my house to sell hot dogs or in front of your house? Or
no,
I mean, I don't know.
the peddler's license basically is no different than a business license. It's basically, instead of a year though, it's only good for 6 months.
Okay.
Now, as far as where they can set up, I don't know the answer to that right offhand, except that there are ordinances that we do have on it. I've looked at it. I couldn't tell you what the hell they said right now. But she can't just pull up in front of your house and
Start
start selling.
Yeah,
It
But-
has to be, she would have to get permission from the property owner.
Right.
So
So
in
that's
our-
what,
in
that's,
our-
yeah.
in our case, we own the parks.
Right. Well, the town of New Chicago owns them, but
Yeah, we'd have to contract with her.
we'd have to, can we enter into a contract with her and so on and so
Yes.
forth? Yeah,
Mhm.
so, yeah, because
Yeah.
obviously we contract with the renters,
yeah,
but those are temporary. They're like a one-shot thing. They're not ongoing. And we kind of had some questions about what our relationship would be, like when it was Busy Bee and they wanted to sublet.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, subletting's a whole different thing.
So we had, but there were
Yeah.
unanswered
Yeah.
questions, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I know it's a different thing, but I'm just saying, I don't think we know enough about it in terms
Yeah.
of what is.
I'll take a look at the ordinance
Yeah,
for
me
it.
too.
And I mean, I'm talking to Tammy tomorrow and she's
Yeah.
the one that issues the license or the permit.
Peddler's license. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that issued the license, so,
And I think we start with the ordinances and we go from there and
Yeah.
see, what does it spell out in there for a
Mhm. Yeah.
peddler? Where
Mhm.
can they set up? And then also, I don't think Tammy probably would have the information we might need about in terms of what
yeah.
the liability issues for the
Yeah.
park would be.
She's also
or anything
very
else.
busy, so anything
Yeah.
that we can find out on our own, I'm sure she would appreciate not having to explain to us.
And we could reach out to Lloyd also.
Yeah,
That
and
would,
find
that
out.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, we could tell her, hey, pick several dates, and we just have her fill out one of those little rental forms for each
Right.
of those dates.
Yeah.
That'd be no
Mhm.
different than someone coming in and saying, hey, I want to rent the park to make sure I got a place to play basketball these weekends.
yeah. Which,
So
I-
Now,
Do
with
we do
any of
that?
the peddler permits and stuff that they do they require proof of liability insurance?
yes, I believe
Okay,
so.
good.
I believe so. Let me
Let's find out.
Let me
Yeah.
look into it because I was looking at the ordinances the other day. So let me look at it.
Yeah, because as long as she's,
Because I know she's
Has-
got her serve safe. And from the county, I know she's got several other things.
she should have a business liability.
Yeah,
In
so,
case somebody trips over the side of her trailer or whatever, breaks a leg, that's on her, not us.
somebody gets burned, like touching
yeah,
her car,
Something, whatever.
something,
Because
yeah.
business insurance is not that expensive.
right.
Yeah.
I've got $1 million worth of business insurance. It's like $30 a month. So
Yeah.
it's not expensive.
All right.
So let's check into
So-
that. Good idea, but let's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
a lot of
absolutely.
stuff to work with there.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting prospect.
Mhm.
And I love the idea that Hammond does that and has for years, the
Mhm,
townwide garage sale.
Yeah, I'll,
Although some
Yeah.
people have called it the townwide garbage sale, but over in Hammond, but
Yeah.
I think that we can really deploy that one
Yeah.
more effectively in this little
Mhm.
town.
and I really think that, telling them, hey, if you give us, a little bit of money, we'll put a highlight flyer and put it on the parks page,
Mm-hmm.
and share that out.
Mm-hmm.
We can even print a
Well-
banner and put a banner up at the park.
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
think
way
that'll
Hammond
help.
makes money on this is you have to have a permit to do it.
Okay.
So each individual household has to sign up for the permit. And there's a
Oh.
fee associated with the permit. That's what a lot of towns do. They do it. It isn't just free for everybody to, okay, on this day, I'm going to have a garage sale because everybody in the neighborhood is doing it. They have to get a permit.
We'd have to change our ordinances then.
Yeah, because our ordinance is you can just have a garage sale as long as it's not longer than 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's not a permanent installation.
Okay, so well, if we decide not to do that, then because we're not going to change the ordinances for that
Yeah.
event,
Yeah.
it would make sense then to do what you're talking about in terms of trying to say,
We'll
if
have
you want a little
highlight
PR,
flyer.
it's going to cost you $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get listed that you've got a ton of baby stuff you want to offload,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and you want us to give
Just
you a
Your address and what you have.
Yeah. And maybe check with like Luke, El Ranchero, a few of the other, local places and see if we can drop flyers there.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Or if
mhm.
they want to list sales too.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, you want to do a spec? Because if we do like a 2-day kind
Yeah,
of
that's what
thing,
Do
Hammond
Saturday and
does. I
Sunday.
think they do a 2-day.
and they want to
Saturday.
draw business in those 2 days,
Mhm.
That's an interesting idea.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else for that?
No,
think
good
so.
brainstorming though.
All right.
yeah, Kim and I were talking about that.
Yeah. All right. Storage container, new snack shack. Storage containers in, the locks are on and they work.
We just need to load it up.
Yep. Is there a weekend coming up you guys might want to work on moving stuff over into there to free up space?
We work Sunday at the, right?
And I will say right now, this Saturday is off the table for me because I have to work midnights.
Ooh,
Lucky you.
you don't want to spend the day schlepping stuff out of the garage into
Yeah,
the,
we're busy this Saturday. Sunday is Mother's Day.
Mm.
No, here,
Yeah.
there. But
we can, Sunday we could do part of our day there. And is Sunday our work day at the shop though?
Morgan?
no, part of our workday at the shop
I
is
work
Midnight.
midnights,
He's gonna be
Saturday night
sleeping.
into Sunday.
I'm just saying we could.
Hey, you-
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying you.
I was
I'm
gonna say,
saying-
I can leave the house and you can still sleep.
I'm like, no, I ain't doing
he's not wanting to do it.
You could be there right at 7.
You big
Yeah.
ninny. You don't want to. No, we're working at the shops on the 18th, the following weekend.
Okay, I don't know why it says there's something on the 11th.
Oh,
Show
no,
up.
that says
My phone's
April.
all
No wonder
wonky.
I'm confused.
If you want to do some time on Saturday, we could probably do that. Michael's going to be building. We have a director that's asked to start. He asked to have rehearsals start early, and he wanted everything on day one, which is unheard of. But we're
Oh.
trying to make him happy. And so Tony and I have been called in to do a lot of set building and
Okay.
things that normally we wouldn't have so much pressure. So if we can split the day on Saturday, what time would you want to work on Saturday?
He doesn't
Okay,
want to work at
so
all on
he's
Saturday.
out.
What time do you want to work on
He's
Saturday?
out on Saturday.
All right.
Oh,
so-
you-
I was gonna say,
I thought-
that sounds like you're going to just be busy on Saturday.
Yeah, I work Saturday night, so Saturday during the day, I don't plan on.
he's not going to do anything.
Yeah,
So, or Sunday.
right, because I'm planning on.
So this
trying to
weekend
sleep-
is out
Yeah, this
for
weekend,
you.
yeah.
Okay,
I am free on Sunday.
you're free on Sunday. We can work on,
We could probably be free Sunday.
we can probably be free on Sunday. What I've been planning on doing is going down and I also have the trees to plant. I
Okay.
have 25 trees to plant. We haven't gotten to that yet. And fencing to put up around them.
Okay.
So I have trying to balance that with the extra demands from the theater right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, but I think that it's important that we get stuff into the storage shed before lunch and learn starts.
yes.
Yes.
Um,
So we can start chipping away at stuff.
so
We could do part of the day on.
we can talk about this more later about what time we want to do, but we're
Okay.
available Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday, I'm driving into Chicago
Okay.
to
So,
pick up Abby.
I,
You are.
I was gonna say,
You said we. I wanted to.
let's
one
table
or
this
other,
for
one or
dinner.
both of us are available on Saturday and Sunday to help with this.
Okay.
We can talk about the time
Yep.
later.
Okay.
Let's
Gotcha.
table that for dinner,
Okay.
because that sounds like a food conversation.
Okay.
All right. Lunch and learn.
Not much to update, except that I have 4 of the 5 days of the week filled. And I'm going to reach out, we'll figure out some art things for the Mondays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are all taken. And at least that's my understanding right now.
Mhm.
So we have North Shore Health, we have Patricia coming back to do ASL, we have the library, and we have Shirley Heights. These are the favorites, and I'm
Mhm.
keeping it simpler this year because they were really solid. We'll take all of these dates. There's one day when we have 2 people coming because IUN, the CURE program
Mhm.
interns will come and do the what they do last year, owl scat or whatever, owl pellets. What's an owl poop? So, and then we'll do Mondays will just kind of be the art days, or if we get special other guests to come in on Mondays, I can slot them in. Like I said, there really weren't any funding opportunities that I found for this that I have time to get, enough information
Yep.
to for money. And there really isn't all that much that we need to produce for it.
Mhm.
So like I said, if we still have a couple $100, we have a ton of art supplies already.
Yeah.
It may be just a matter of, a few cans of paint and some woods. I'm not sure where that would go in terms of expense, which column it would go under, but we still need to replace a couple of benches
Mhm.
and we need wider boards. So it might be that the
Yeah.
materials used are actually under materials, not lunch and learn.
Yeah.
When you talk to Tammy,
Mhm.
have her pull the donations. I know that's a totally separate, unappropriated.
Do you want me to just
Why
get like a
not?
full?
Yeah.
A full financial snapshot.
Yeah. To see where we're at.
I think it's a good idea
'Cause
once a month anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this year, well, I've been trying to get that. Remember to ask her for that. I don't know if she can do the whatever the report is you guys approve every month, the appropriations report.
That's
I don't
what
know.
it's called.
I don't know if she can pull just an appropriations for park, or if she has to pull
The whole thing.
the whole report every time.
Mhm.
So, because I would like to get that from her, because I'll be honest, this year I have not done what I've done in the past, which was create an Excel sheet and manually type in all of our bills to see where we started and where we're at.
That should be a report she I don't know what financial software she's using. She should be able to pull a report for that.
It's Keystone. It doesn't. I've looked at it enough over her shoulder and Dorothy's shoulder to know that it doesn't seem to be the most user friendly.
Peachy.
Like there's certain things that you look at it and go, oh, that's the report I need, and you pull it up and it's like, that's nowhere close to what I'm looking for, but that ideally would be the name.
Yeah, because I've had her pull stuff sometimes, and it's like way too much information. It's like everything. It's like a data purge or a data splash of everything. It's like, no, I really need. But it seems like that should be just an easy report. Like, where are the parks financially this month?
Yeah.
Right.
There we go.
So
all right. Well, let's see what we can come up with. Who knows?
okay. And Dave, I'm gonna ask for your help on this. I think I brought it up at the last council meeting. If you can kind of get with the other council members and see if they can help out at the parks with Morgan and Tony, just to have, because we can't hire a student like we did last year.
Right.
So,
We were not eligible to apply for that grant again this year because we received it within the last 12 months. So there you go.
Right.
So it won't happen. It's not like I need to have a town council member, or we need to have a town council member there every day.
yeah,
But there may be days when both of us need to be someplace else and we need
Right.
somebody to open and close.
Yeah.
You really only have to be there for an hour out of your day, and you can get lunch for $5 and it's good.
yeah.
They have awesome
It is
food.
actually really good food.
Mm-hmm.
The Cajun chicken pasta is actually really good.
And they serve that stuff during the school year too.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, new business, digital opportunity grant. And I think I kind of looked at that today too.
So I looked it over, and first and foremost, I couldn't get too far into what the guidelines and everything are because I don't understand some of the language that's engaged in it. Not my area of interest or expertise in any way, shape, or form. If somebody can help.
Why does everybody keep looking at me here at this table?
Oh, well, I'm trying to look at both of you.
Just see those
You in
extra-
particular, because you've done more at the civic level for
So,
the town.
so when I was looking at it, I went to their little, because in that email it was, if you couldn't make the Teams meeting, go to this site to look at the presentation. And what it looks like is it's something kind of geared towards the towns to be able to look at and say, okay, this area of our town has, these internet services available. These are the speeds that are available. This area, yeah, they're kind of lacking. They're just this side of dial-up. And it seems like a way for them to be able to kind of go to the internet service providers and say, hey, can you guys go after this grant? Try and bring
Can
this
this be
group,
mediated? Yeah.
bring this group up to where they're closer to this group. It doesn't seem like I was hoping it was a grant for like trying to get internet at the parks, internet at a library, internet,
At town hall.
right. And
Library's got it already, so they wouldn't really fall into that. The only other place that we'd want it would be, any other public
Right.
settings like town hall, which we don't currently have
right,
a need to accommodate, and the parks.
right.
Um,
And even then, it would still be mainly the parks because the town hall, while it's a public place, people aren't just
Hanging out there
hanging
using
out there.
Wi-Fi.
Right.
But at the park, it might be nice.
Right.
Mm.
I did like it.
It did mention that later on in its lifespan, it's going to be geared towards getting stuff for like public, like hospitals, libraries, parks, things like that. But it didn't really give any kind of specifics. Like, I think right now they're more focused on the residential aspect,
Mhm.
residential and commercial, aspect of it, and making sure that those customers have, proper internet speeds.
Yeah.
Proper by today's standards. Because like I pulled up the park, and it shows that we're serviced by Comcast in that area. So we're,
Right.
we're good. The town is serviced by Frontier with the fiber. Just for kicks, I pulled up our friend Nick, who lives down in Earl Park, because I know he had said that his town got fiber like a year or two ago, and that the part of town he lives on couldn't get it because of the railroad. And sure enough, if you actually pull up his address and look at Earl Park, you see all these pretty green dots along this side. Then there's a railroad track that runs here, and the 5 dots on this side are all grayed out. And he's one of those gray dots. So,
There was some language in there. I did the similar thing, and then I also went to one of the documents that's extraordinarily long about, and it actually was not referring to this year.
mhm.
It's more at the federal level, what their guidelines are.
Mhm.
So it was from 23, 24. And I did, because it,
I
yeah.
saw that document. I
The
saw the 23, 24,
Navy
and then
or-
I saw how many pages it was. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time. for
Well,
that
I
right
did
now.
I asked AI to summarize it for me. So there were some of which I thought, you know,
It's a good use of it.
Right,
a good
yeah.
use of AI here. And it volunteered that information. So it said that something that you could get funding for was planning. Now, mind you, this was, all talking about deadlines that are long gone. And who knows what the current administration is saying about this particular project. The monies from that period of time have already come into the state because it is fed to state, then distributed to communities. So it's now at the state level, and that's who's organizing this. But that was one of the origin or documents on it that I saw.
I know that
yeah.
we're technically into round 2 now.
Yeah, this is
on it.
round 2.
So
Which, it's I don't know if it didn't seem to me from what I saw that we have a way into that. It's not going to help us provide more infrastructure at the technical level for town hall or the police or even the parks at this point in time.
yeah.
I think it's for more rural areas like
Earl Park,
Earl Park, wherever
Right.
that is. I've never even heard of it.
a little north of Fowler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Little podunk town that you're not going to know that you're driving by on 41 unless you happen to turn down the little side road.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
Farm Shark country.
yeah. I mean, we could, we could go through and survey and see if people have the same distribution. I know that every afternoon around 3:00, I all of a sudden can't make a proper phone call at our house. And the same reason Verizon has been telling us why you can't make a proper phone call from our house on their service for the last 21 years is when you're by the river.
Are you near water?
Yeah, the river only appears at 3:00.
Yeah, it's fine at 9 a.m. And we're
Oh, you're getting into high tide at 3 p.m.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Like and I'm like, am I by river? Am I by water? Yeah, everybody in 20 miles of Lake Michigan is near water, or 8 miles. We're only 8 miles from. We're near a very large body of water. So how's that the excuse? But that's what I always
water.
hear.
Well,
Well, maybe it'll get better when they build that tower back there behind KC's.
yeah.
Oh, they're building a tower by Casey's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, new cell phone towers going in. They're leasing the land from KC's, or they might have bought the land. I can't remember which.
Mhm.
But we had a planning commission meeting on it a few months ago.
Why did we tear the
Oh.
one down at town hall then?
No, well, that wasn't. That was an old Comcast. Comcast owned that tower. So
Oh, it wasn't a cell tower.
no,
Oh,
Yeah.
I always thought it was.
No, the cell services were renting the space on the water.
yeah, the cell services were renting, or T-Mobile, I should
Yeah.
say, used to have an antenna on top of the water tower,
Gotcha. And then they stopped running from us. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which didn't really break my heart any because after they left, my service is still the same in this town.
Huh?
Barely existing if I'm inside my house.
Well, see, Verizon's not bad, but
You also stay in the basement.
Even when I'm upstairs, I
Oh,
have.
okay. We're
Yeah.
we're way off topic. We have gone
Steering us back
no, we're not. We
around.
started with the digital
Okay,
opportunity.
that's
grant.
right. That's right.
So-
So let's get back on the tracks.
But if it, I mean,
I-
is it worth going any further with it? Do we need to
I'll take
pursue
a
it?
more in-depth look and see if maybe there's something, but I'm not holding my breath on it.
Okay. All right.
So
And I will look at it again too. Like I said, I'm more than willing to help write narrative, but you're going to need to toss me the
Yep.
language, how to put it in there.
Goose fence.
Yeah. What do we want to do?
I really haven't seen that. Well, I haven't been down there as much as I usually am.
There aren't as many geese this year.
Yeah.
They do not seem to have nested
No.
on that side this year.
Mhm.
They are nesting in the wetland on the other side, which is a good thing. We could save our money this year and see how it goes. There's a smaller gaggle this year,
Mhm.
but the goslings are adorable. And the last time I looked, the duck still had her eggs underneath the slide.
Good.
That was There were 8, I think, in her nest. She was off the nest when I
How
looked
long has she
last.
been there?
Yeah, they should be hatching
I
soon.
was
It's
gonna
been
say.
there 2 weeks now, I think.
Has it been
I
2 weeks?
checked Friday. They were there.
Okay, so yeah, she's at least halfway there.
Yeah.
I think we can just leave it.
I think maybe
This year.
save the money, roll the dice, save the money this year, and
You gonna pull down the rest of the scraggly bits, or what do you think about that?
Where I think we really need to fence
Mhm.
and deter kids from, because I think a lot of what's building up on the east end of the pond is not from stuff falling in the water. It's from what the kids are throwing in the water and throwing at that area where it's clogging.
I've been blaming the beaver.
It's just sticks and branches and garbage
Okay.
and rocks. So they get in there. So
Mm,
it seems to me like it might be wise to figure out how to, the only way for them to access it would be to go into the pond proper. And then maybe
Okay.
they'll be
Mhm.
deterred a little bit. So
So
wrap our heads about,
reinforce the fence down and around that curve. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what to do there. It would
Well,
have to be
let's-
8 feet high because otherwise they'll just throw things over it and into it, making it harder for us to clean out. But we need to think about it.
Well, and that's the thing too, is they could just look around the fence and go,
They
yeah.
could,
So-
unless we take it down a little further and bring it right down to the water's edge or something.
but
like
we
the
also
lid.
have to make sure we can still service it
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
when it
My
clogs.
point, exactly.
So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there,
I have no clue.
you know.
I catch one of them doing, I'm gonna make them go in there and get
Yes.
it.
They like that.
They probably would. Oh, it's okay to go in the pond. I do think we need to get a sign over there that says no swimming on both ends,
Mhm.
because I've been watching them when I've been down there and they're starting to wade in. Kids are wading into it.
Okay. Probably get a hold of whatever that sign company is in town that does.
Yes. If while we're on signs, if we can get one more sign for the pavilion,
For
for, it says something to the effect of large parties with balloons and things like that are are only by permit. We have one sign that says use of permits is by, or use of shelters by permit. And it's on the, we could move it
Mhm.
onto that building, but right now,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
I think putting one on the building, and I think actually 2, and doing one in Spanish.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't think anybody rented that
Nope.
for that one. It was a Monday night. We would have known.
Yeah.
I think it would have been, and we need to know when somebody's renting. That's the other thing. If somebody does rent it, we need to be let know,
Right.
so that we can keep an eye on things. But that was, I cleaned up balloons for a solid week and
Mhm.
they did not empty, they
Well, that
shoved
comes
all the
back to-
garbage in there.
Getting internet at Twin Oaks Park so that we can remotely view the cameras and see what's going on.
Because we can't be there 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you could set it up to where it'll send a message, it'll give a motion alert, which of course is going to do every 10 seconds as people.
Yeah,
as kids are running.
that's where it gets sticky, is doing the motion alerts. Is it like the Blink doorbell camera where I can go in and go, I don't want motion across here.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, if we could do it just at the pavilion.
right.
Like if all of a sudden there's, 40 balloons in front of the thing, then I know I need to go down there unless I know that there's a party already.
Right.
The permit.
Mhm.
Can we say no balloons? We put that in our contract?
We'd have to amend it.
We'd have to amend it, and
The contract amending
no-
it's no biggie.
and I guarantee probably nobody's going to pay attention to that anyway.
But we can make rules.
Yeah.
We can make rules. I read that in the municipal ordinances. It says we can make rules.
Right.
So we can make rules, we can post those rules, and if they
But here's the thing. That's one of our very few sources of income.
I know.
And we make a bunch of rules. We're going to have no source of income. I mean, the only other thing we can do is say, okay.
I'm only
let me-
asking for balloons.
You know,
No balloons. It's like they pop them and they go everywhere.
and
Okay, so the geese and the ducks will eat those and die.
right. And I 100% get that. I 100% understand that. I'm looking at it, A, from the fiscal aspect. B, if we can document it well enough, we can say, hey, you're not getting your deposit back, or if it's that big of an issue, we do an amendment to the park rental fees, and now it's a $200 deposit on top of.
Can we get more trail cams
No.
and put them in there? Put
Yeah,
one
But
like
somebody
higher
stole
up.
the ones we already
Well, I
had.
mean, like put them higher up, so you need like a ladder to get to them.
We'd almost want to go with more security cam. The trail cams, while nice, it's just a more tedious process to review them. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to walk out to each one, and you got to,
Yeah.
you have to Bluetooth hook up to each one, and then download what's on it. And
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, we have damn near every square inch of that park visible from cameras.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
If they do stuff over on the south end of the park, you're
We're
going
not-
to see movement, but you're not going to be able to tell.
Who it was.
Yeah, that's true. But they're not doing stuff on the south end
so that
as
kinda-
much.
as much.
That kind of gets us just back to needing internet service
Right.
at
Yeah.
the shack, which is going to go away, but
Well, and I'm not, I'm not trying to build in a ton of rules. I
Mhm.
just think that we need to publicize what they are, and we don't have to amend anything if we, by like have an official get the
Mhm.
town council. We could just have this rule. That does not have to be an amendment.
Right. No, we can
So-
have that rule. We can add it to the contract. But I guarantee you, everybody who comes, not everybody, 95% of the people who are going to come in when they sign up, they're going to go, all right.
But we can hand them a piece of paper with the rules on it.
yeah, or we can just kind of
Yeah.
expand.
Yes.
Okay, so people that rent it, we remind them,
Mhm.
if you leave balloon debris, you're not getting your deposit
Yeah.
back.
Mhm.
People that don't rent it, balloon debris is considered littering. We will fine you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
just expanding the coverage.
Mhm.
Yeah, because telling them they can't bring balloons or there's an extra deposit for balloons, I don't think will fly. But I think making it clear that like you have to clean up after yourself. This includes balloon debris. They think popping the balloons and throwing away the bulk of it is good. It's like, no, you've just blown pieces of plastic all over the park. You need to make a concerted effort to clean that up.
Yeah.
Or put it in the dumpster, then pop it.
Yeah, because if
Mhm.
we remind them, hey, you're not getting $100 back if you leave balloon stuff on the ground.
Right.
They're
That's
going
what
to
I'm
be more
saying,
conscientious
Yeah.
about
And
it.
that's what I'm saying, so that, we could say no balloons, but that's not really necessary. I just don't want to find balloons on the ground.
Okay. So yeah, let's just make up a list of rules then.
Yeah.
That we'll attach with the contract.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, we've asked people to not do the staples into the tables. We can ask for, please don't staple your tablecloths to the table, use tape.
How about we phrase it as, this is what we'll be looking for
Yeah.
when we,
If
when
you
we
want your
try to get
deposit
you
back,
your deposit, yeah,
we're
when,
not
to
pulling
get your
staples.
deposit back, this is what we look for.
Mhm.
That way it doesn't seem like we're, trying to come down on them and like ruin their fun, but
Right, exactly.
We're
like
telling
this
you
is
up
your
front.
check, yeah, like this is our checklist
Yeah.
that we check for.
Yeah, so I think making a checklist. I mean, do they get an information sheet? What do they get?
They get a copy of the
Contract.
contract,
Okay.
but like I think maybe if we give them like an actual checklist of,
Mhm.
hey, we're gonna check the bathrooms, make sure toilets are flushed, garbage is
Because
in the
I,
bathrooms and around the things are emptied, the
Yeah.
dumpster's locked, balloon debris, no staples.
Mhm.
I think if we do that, it'll be a lot more clear what we're
Yeah.
actually looking for.
I think that's a good idea.
because they don't read the contract.
Yeah,
Right.
But
Like
if
you
they
said,
can go through and
They
they're
may
like,
not
"We
read the
did this, we
checklist,
did
but
this, we
you
did
presented
this."
it twice.
Right.
Yeah,
And then I feel like, that's fair. And
Yeah.
if you want your deposit back, help yourself out. Here's what you
Yeah.
need to do.
and I think a lot of people, they'll feel better like, "Oh, I did the checklist. This is what I did."
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
I think that's a good idea.
The other thing we need to put on that is no booze,
Yeah.
right? Because there's been multiple parties last summer and then the one the other night.
Mhm.
Bunch of empties in the garbage cans.
Well, what we need is for, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, we need the local police to actually roll up on these parties and do their due diligence.
Mhm.
Yeah, make
And I
sure
think
they're
that
permitted.
comes along with us knowing when the parties
Yeah,
are going to
if-
happen, so we can remind the police. They're not going to know.
Right. They're not going to know, but they also should be patrolling.
Yes, that
And
one.
we are a one square mile town that Tyler is the main thoroughfare. You
Mhm.
And
mean to tell
people
me-
drive 50 miles an hour and it's 20-mile an hour limit.
Right. Well, I'm not even worried about that part.
No, I mean, they should be over there because of that.
It's with how many times we've had, that we've had parties there. You mean to tell me in the 8 hours that those people were there, that officer never once drove down Tyler?
Mhm.
He never had an opportunity. It was that busy of a Saturday.
Yeah.
Unless you're making felony arrest after felony arrest where you're having to take them to the,
Mhm.
three hots and a
Crown
cock
Point, yeah.
hotel, and then yeah, you're an 8 hour shift. You're going to eat up, 6 hours of that just driving back and forth to Crown Point. So
The other two is just paperwork.
right. So it's that's the thing is like,
Yeah, I mean, but
And-
my experience is expecting them to just doing it on their own. But if we can flag it and
Mhm.
send it out so that, whoever's keeping track of chief or whoever's keeping track of the schedule going in the weekend, it's like, there's a party scheduled
mhm,
this day at this time. Swing by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If people are drinking, ask them to not.
Unless we tell you there's nothing scheduled. So if there's people partying,
And they're drinking, tell them to stop and
Yeah.
tell them to not have their party there.
yeah, if there's people partying in the pavilion, they shouldn't be doing that.
and one of the things we can add to the list of rules is that if alcohol is found, they don't get their deposit back
Yeah,
because that is a town ordinance.
It's easy to check the cameras and see
Yeah.
what's going on.
So
Yeah,
And
I
that'd
think
be-
that's, and also,
And that they would also be liable for violating, they could be ticketed for violating a town ordinance.
Mhm.
Yeah, so just, be advised. We
Yeah.
want you to have a good time, but sorry, but alcohol's not allowed. It was like somebody that last summer, Sue told them to call me, and one of the first things she asked me was, is alcohol allowed?
Mhm.
And I said, no. Okay, well, it would just be beer. No.
but still alcohol.
She then rented the park and had beer at the party
mhm.
after being told straightforward. I mean, so
So we're just going around in circles here. Let's
Yeah.
create a list.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We create
Yes.
a checklist of here's what we're going to
Yeah.
be checking. Make sure you do all this if you want your $100 back.
Mhm.
You cannot have alcohol. That is in violation of ordinance. We'll look up whatever the heck the ordinance number is.
Yeah.
If we find that you had alcohol during the party, you will not be getting your deposit back, and we'll be getting,
Mhm.
a fine in the mail from the police department.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that this will help, defeat that kind of a thing happening
Mhm.
again, hopefully, or it'll
Right.
deter it some more. Word of mouth wasn't good enough, but if it's in writing, maybe that'll help.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you can stress that there are security cameras. We will know.
Yeah.
Now, if you're really good about bringing everything in a thermos and whatever, then that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't like to draw attention to the security cameras too much because I'm afraid somebody's going to go smash them.
Well, that's
Just like that one kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
all right.
We're at new
Planting
business,
trees.
Trees.
Yes. What did Robert George say, Tony? Can we pick them up tomorrow?
Yes.
We're going to pick up the trees tomorrow.
Move
Okay.
them over
We
to-
were supposed to do it last week and then we got had to go do set
I
building.
got waylaid.
And so, but we can get them tomorrow morning and we will put them in the cage and I'll start planting them because 811 has come out and marked everything as being clear.
Mhm.
So I will get started on that.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. And then the last thing was walking paths, which
Okay.
Yes,
didn't make it on here because I already had these printed when she had added
All right.
it.
Hey, I want to hear your idea.
All right.
Excited.
So Robert George actually asked me to put this back on the thing because he really wants a walking path. And he told me he is willing to volunteer his spare time to help us clear the path, fill, like cut anything.
No, he's
Cool.
talking about over here in
Over here
the
in the
S-shaped wetland.
in the S-shaped
Yes.
wetland. So
Good.
Basically what he was thinking, let me move this, is in this area here,
Mm-hmm.
he would like a walking.
Yeah.
So not around this wetland,
No.
because looking at that, it gets way too close to this guy's property line,
Mm-hmm.
but just through here.
Yeah, because
But so right about here-ish is our Connex box now.
and I'll tell you the property line goes about
Yep, yeah,
right there.
right there where it's marked on
Yeah.
in light gray.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes.
This light gray is the property line?
No.
Here.
I think it
can
actually
mark
cuts
it for you.
through there.
No,
Okay, so the
Uh,
dotted line or?
nope,
the
there's a
fade-
line
fade
right here.
gray? Yeah,
You're talking
right here.
that's the one
That's
I
where
was
the
talking
line
about.
is.
Okay.
this line back here, correct?
Yep, correct.
That is the one I was pointing
That,
at.
yep, that's the one that shows on the ArcGIS map
Good.
because it's got all that. But when I looked, it said it varied because trying to figure out distances on maps on computers, super precise. It varied between about 20 to 30 feet from the property line and the actual swamp area, the actual
Mhm.
wetland area. So I wouldn't want to get too close between property line, wetland. But I think if we just through
Mhm.
here,
Well, yeah, if you have 20 feet,
yeah, but it's gonna get soggy.
Yeah, but we could do something that starts right around here's where our dumpster is, or not
Connex, yeah,
our
Yeah,
our
that's what I'm
cube
thinking.
is.
something like
Yeah, so
that.
something that wanders around there and then ends up
I'm
down
thinking
over here.
I'm thinking
I
maybe
can't
try to
see. I
avoid the
can't see what you're
wetland.
doing.
Yeah,
Can you
I'm
draw it
thinking
on here?
avoid the wetland. Maybe do something like what Joe did,
Oh, so, oh.
or even start on
okay.
the other side of the Connex, like over by the road here,
Mhm.
and just kind of and just
That would be cool. I
Yeah,
like that. It goes back in
Yeah.
and around and has a little
'Cause-
meandering
But even though
thing
that's
going
coded as
on.
wetlands, it's not.
okay.
That's still
Yeah,
walkable.
I don't know how much item or anybody would like us
Right. 'Cause if
filling
it-
or cutting the wetlands.
yeah,
with
'cause
the-
if they've got it coded as that, they're gonna,
We're
Yeah.
gonna have to get permits and
Okay.
and being, doing construction inspection, I see IDEM roll up somewhere and I kind of punch up.
I'm like, but if we avoid the wetland area, I mean, that's even less than an acre.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's pretty short, really.
yeah. And
Mhm.
Robert George said we could use the town supplies. He would use the front end loader.
Mhm. And then we
Use
just
that mulch.
cover it with mulch.
Yeah.
Where is the what is the address?
Where's the
Where-
mulch?
Where's the mulch?
It's
It's so,
We drove around the other day.
it's Arthur, so
Arthur.
it's.
Arthur.
Just past Sharon's house, isn't it? Close to that?
it's one road over from Sharon.
Yeah, it's one road over. from
West end of Arthur.
Okay.
Sharon. It's in the same block as like Sharon's house is on Garfield, just on Arthur. If that makes any sense.
No,
Oh,
it doesn't.
Pull it up on a map.
Yeah, here, let me,
Yeah,
Pull it up.
because I was gonna go get some and put it in the soggy bits over there by the grass, which is coming along. I don't think we need to water it anymore. I think I'm gonna, when the netting is a little less trippy, I'm gonna take the posts down, which should be sometime within the next week to 10 days, I
Yeah.
think.
We could probably peel up the netting too at that point.
All right, so
Isn't it supposed to just stay in the grass and dissolve?
No, I think you pull it up, it's plastic. I don't think.
Oh,
it's
okay.
glass.
all right, so
We can look up on the
here is
instructions and see.
Michigan. You got El Ranchero right here. You got Michigan. Arthur, it's like right here on Arthur. It's like kind of in the back in the middle there.
Did you see that? I couldn't see you from over there.
No, hang on.
Uh,
So what, there's El Ranchero, is
You
that
got-
down by Rady Magoo's?
No, or so here's Michigan.
Oh, El Ranchero. Okay,
You got
now I
El
understand. what you're
Ranchero. So you come up to Arthur, hang a right, and it's going to be like about center between Michigan and Iowa.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the big green space? there?
Between
Just outside of-
Michigan and Iowa.
What is that?
Something behind Gills? I think it's it's that undeveloped area behind.
Oh,
Gills.
okay.
Yeah, it's the
All right,
trees and
okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right, now I
It's
have
the
a
green
better
space.
idea where it is.
Well, I think that's a wonderful idea. The thing that I think would be really nice is we could clear some of the stuff that gets taken down.
And use it.
Wanted to get rid of it, get it
Yeah.
mulched. I don't want it. I think it would be nice if it wasn't just laying on the ground left there. You know, like kind of how when he moved all that stuff for us, it just is a big pile now, and it looks very unsightly. And I keep looking at it going, and it's shoved up a bunch of branches and concrete, and it's just a lump of stuff. And so I feel like we need to clean up after ourselves when we clear a
Yeah.
little bit better. That would, but I'm all in favor of it. And if we can, I don't want to destroy its rustic sensibility. I
Yeah.
just don't want there to be a lot of stuff laying around looking.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
Well, his thought was.
if somebody off roads and
Yeah.
trips over it, then
Well, his thought was use the mulch to build it up, and then as people are walking on it, it breaks down, but forms a more natural looking path.
oh yeah,
So it still
Mhm.
looks rustic over time.
And there are out there, there's Robert George and his predecessors for years have dumped giant chunks of concrete
Mhm.
and pipe.
so yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It'll
It's,
need to
it's
be
not
pulled
just the tree to
Yeah.
tree
Right.
that comes from taking the trees down, but all the other
Yeah.
stuff that gets dredged up to the
Right.
top.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it did
Yeah,
used
yeah.
to be the dump,
Yeah.
Right.
and people have been dumping stuff there for years.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
I
Yeah,
don't
because
think-
Robert actually took out a bunch of the when he saw those concrete blocks that were back there, those big ones.
Mhm.
He asked me, he's like, "Can I have those?" I didn't even
Have
know
that.
they were back there until
Yeah.
you dug one up. Go for it.
Mhm.
You know, I have no need for
Yeah,
something
see,
like
there's
that. And he
more
used it
of it.
down here at the Public Works building to separate out his gravel from his, his number twos from his 53s and everything else. So
So can we just schedule a time? We should work on scheduling a time to get out there with Robert George and kind of maybe plan out
Like-
where we want it to go through.
like stripe it and say this is where we wanted to
Pay it
go, and,
out or something.
yeah,
I'll get in touch with them and
Okay, then we can meet down there and
and we
sort
can,
that out.
yeah. Do you want to get
Okay.
in touch with it?
I think that's a fine plan.
Okay, cool. And tell him we all said, "Yay, cool, thank you."
yeah, he walked up to me. He's like, "Hey, put this on the agenda. I want this on the agenda. Do this."
Yep,
So-
no, he talked with us, that was out there, and then over dinner, we'll discuss other aspects.
Yeah.
One thing that didn't make it on the list was, me,
Phone.
yes, me not being good at following up because I got swallowed up, my
Oh.
time got swallowed up, and Tammy's time is so difficult, so it's very
Yeah.
difficult for me to get over there but I'm going to get over there and find a time with Tammy where I can sit down and we can set up the park telephone number.
Mhm.
It just, she's been so busy and didn't have time. And I mean, I'm not saying she can't figure it out herself. I think just figuring out and picking like which number we want and all that. She just wants somebody to be there to make sure it's the correct,
Yeah.
whatever. So I will try to get over there and deal with that soon.
Okay.
So that we can start selling some more banana.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, legal reports none, announcements. I've got nothing.
Me either.
Other business, which we kind of just covered with the
Yeah.
phone. Open forum, nobody here. Comments from board members? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Well, there we go. There's another meeting.
There's Zoom.